Welcome to Own Your Power. My name is Brenda Miranda, and I am the founder of Miranda Coaching and Consulting. And I am on a mission to be able to empower women to own all of whom they are, to be authentic, to step into their power, and be powerful beyond measure. And I am very excited because I have a very powerful powerhouse woman, and she's all about women entrepreneurship. She's a leader and she's just very, very successful. And she's here with you today to provide you some insights and some strategies on her mindset and what it took for her to be able to step into her power, build the courage, and being able to build the amazing team that she now has. And that is Cyrene Dellinger. Thank you so much for being here today. It's definitely an honor. She is a team leader for her company, Cyrene Properties at Keller Williams Central in Northridge. So she's my neighbor. We're really close. That's really neat to be able to have someone that is nearby my neighborhood to be able to come to you today. So thank you so much for being here. And I would love to know a little bit more about you and your personal story and what is it currently that you're working on?
Oh boy, you want the personal story.
Some personal story.
Okay, well, let's see, this is making a little bit of noise. Okay, well, boy. So I grew up in kind of a chaotic environment. I didn't really have like a lot of role models or supervision, or things weren't awesome. And I was actually homeless at 13, and I ended up, all kinds of things happened between then and now, but I had my first daughter at 22, and I was, at that point, I was living in my grandmother's house. It was just like there were some other people living there. It wasn't the most safe situation. We were on welfare. We were living off of $365 a month. And I had this little baby, and I was 22, and I didn't know what to do with this baby because I would never had one before, and there's no manual, and I was young. So, but I just knew that we had to get out of the situation we were in. And I heard about this housing project that was being built nearby, and they were taking applications. Somebody told me about it, and I went over there and I applied. And at that point, I didn't have a job. So but even though it was a housing project, like low income housing, you still had to have money, right? You had to have some money to pay the rent. So I had gone to school. I got this little medical billing certificate, and the same day that they told me I could be accepted for the apartment, I got hired at this job. So like, still to this day, I get a little bit like, wow, like, I don't know, some other force was at work there, but so I moved into this place, and God bless New Economics for Women. They are the nonprofit that has these housing projects. They have several of them, and the way that it works there is that you cannot move in there. You cannot live there and stay there unless you do certain things, like they teach you about budgeting and your FICO scores and why it's important to have a bank account and stuff. And at that point, I was so dang, for lack of a better word, ghetto. I kept my money, I didn't put it in the bank. You know what I mean? I didn't know about a FICO score. And these people were asking me for stuff that I was just like, what? I moved in there with $40 in the bank. So I stayed there, and I learned about this stuff in spite of myself, in spite of resisting the whole thing. And they just kind of take you through, and they kind of trick you into it. But I got to the point where I was now sitting in a home buyer workshop, and I went through their programs. I thought, these guys are crazy. Why would they want to give me that much money? Like, they're going to give me a loan? Like, oh. So, and long story short, I ended up buying my first home using those programs.
Wow.
And that completely changed my life. And I continue to go to school. I have a bachelor's degree in finance. That house, I got pregnant while I was in school, and I still graduated with honors, and I have now an 11-year-old. That house that I bought, I kept it, and ended up buying another house and another one, and things just, progressed. I got a job as a CFO. I was working as a CFO of this healthcare auditing firm, and I'm just like, how is this my life? How did I get here? And some stuff happened with that whole thing with work. I ended up getting, they ended up laying off the whole California office because the company got sold, and they got rid of everyone in California because it's expensive to have people here. And it was on a fluke. I ended up in real estate. I had my house on the market at the time. I was going to buy a bigger house, and then I lost the job, and it was like, okay, well, I can't sell the house because, and the real estate agent who was helping me, she's like, why don't you get into real estate? You'd be really good at it. And I told her, you're insane. Like, no way. You just showed me like 1,000 houses and you didn't get paid $1. And then you had my house on the market, and now we're taking it off. You didn't get paid $1. Plus you had to deal with my crazy the whole time. Like, why would I want that job? Give me my numbers and my spreadsheets and I'm happy, right? And she's like, no, trust me. I really think you'd be good at it. Like, can you just give it a shot? Because, it's not that hard. Like, the barrier to entry is pretty low as far as getting into the business. And I already had a lot of the units because of all my college stuff. And so I was like, well, what do I got to lose, right? And when I walked into the office and kind of like felt how things were there, it was like, right on the wall, it said God, family, business. And like, to me, that's the kind of culture I want, right? So coming from corporate where things were so cutthroat and could be so just icky, it felt really good to be able to set the culture that I was, that made me feel fulfilled. So yeah, I mean, it was scary. Because you don't make any money unless you close a deal. And it's like, in the beginning, it's really hard to get business because nobody, people are like, if they're selling their house, if they know you're new, it's kind of like, Right. So, but my first year, I didn't close a deal for 6 months. And then the next 6 months, I closed 10. The year after that, I closed 27. And I just progressed like that, every year, except for my first year, I've been the top agent in my office, regardless of the office I've been at. And so I got so busy, I got to the point where I was like, you know what, I can't serve my clients in the way that they deserve unless I grow my team. So then I started growing a team, which has been the hardest thing I have done, because anytime you're dealing with employees, so to speak, like finding good people is probably the hardest thing about running a business, in my opinion. So there is my long story, trying to condense it, but that's me.
Right. Cyrene, thank you so much. Honestly, what you just shared, you're so vulnerable and authentic. I believe that's a true reflection of what owning your power is as a woman. From where you've been to where you're at now. And you mentioned, right, like it wasn't pretty along the way. And so I would love to know more about like, what was your mindset? What were you going through that brought you to where you're at right now? Because I think that's a very inspirational story. So thank you so much. We are talking about women empowerment and owning our power and stepping into that so that we can create more confidence and happiness and freedom. And so I think, you mentioned that it took someone to believe in you.
Yeah.
And to realize that there was six months without closing a deal. And once you did your first one, I think that you got momentum and you did 10.
Well, the whole 6 months before, like doing the work, created the results down the line. Like a lot of the things we do, and I teach this to the girls all the time, is it's like, it's not about the current results, it's about taking the action. If you take the action, the results will come, but you have to take the action.
Did you feel any fear? Like what was the fear that helped you take action?
Of course I felt fear. I mean, I feel fear all the time, but I mean, it can get out of here. It's got no place in my life. It's like, I feel it, but I think now I'm just, now I'm at a place where like I've walked through so much stuff and come out to the other side okay, that my confidence in, look, I've been through hell. Okay, I've been to hell and back. So even if whatever I'm doing doesn't work, oh well, we'll do something else. You know what I mean? Like it's a learning opportunity. We'll do something else. It's not like doom and gloom or I can't or whatever. I just sometimes get these ideas and I'm like, oh, there's this thing over here. I think I want to do it. Got no idea how I'm gonna do it, but I'm doing it. And I just figure it out. I mean, I don't know. I hope that answers your question.
It does. I think it's like look back to what you've been through and how you've been able to overcome those situations. And so like then it helps you put things into perspective. Um, so now you have your own company, your own brokerage, and so you sell homes, but you also have a team of particularly women. So all women. Okay. So how has that been for you to be able to be a leader in a team that's all women and for it to be the success that it is right now? I know you mentioned there were some challenges, but tell us more about that.
Well, there were definitely growing pains as far as like getting the right people in place and systems in place and knowing how to best like help these folks. But I think like my career in real estate has really given me a good foundation for how to lead them, because a lot of what we do, I mean, it's a lot of people think, oh, we're just out there like driving fancy cars and putting signs in yards. No, that's not what we're doing. We're basically therapists, psychologists, CPAs, lawyers, you know, door openers, you know, negotiators, we're a number of things. But there's so much personal stuff that goes into buying or selling a house that, you know, something that I think makes me successful as you know, compared to some people is that like you really have to get to know your clients and understand how they operate, how they communicate, and what it is that they need and their goals and their motivation, and then work with them in their space, right? And get them where they need to go based on where they are. So I think with a team and with having, you know, it's the same concept, right? Every individual is different. So it's like, okay, well, you know, this team member, their struggle with, they struggle with being assertive, whereas this team member is too assertive, right? So like, how do I, you know, work with them to kind of fine tune those skills so that they can be more successful? And I think that part, you know, is really rewarding, because when I get it right, it's like, you know, and then working with each person, because they all have individual goals, right? Not everybody is out to make $1 gazillion. You know, some people just want freedom in their schedule. Some people want just to be able to be their own boss. Some people want, you know, it depends. Like, so really getting to know their why and what it is that's important to them, and then helping them get there. You know, using their, like, finding what they're best at, their best qualities, and then, you know, helping them build on those.
That's amazing. I really love how you made that connection, that although your clients, right, or the potential buyers, like they may have what they want, their why, what their personal story is, but you're also connecting it to your team. And like they also individually have their needs and have different goals. And so I think that, you know, oftentimes we can get caught up on the potential clients and then not really have much of a focus on the team. So I think that it's a reflection of like where your heart is. And I know that we were having a discussion prior to the thing. You mentioned something to me that was that your employees actually, you work for them.
Yes.
And I was like, wow, that's really intriguing. So what do you mean by they work for you?
I work for them. It's, you know, I'm there to serve them, right? This is just how I've, you know, my mentor early on, I asked her, like, how are you doing this? Like, how are you being successful? And her answer was so simple. I was like, okay. you know, but it was, if you just come from contribution and you go out every day trying to help people, you'll never want for business. You'll be fine. And I was like, she's like, just don't think about the money. Just go find out how you can help people and you'll be fine. And I was like, I can do that. And so what I mean by I work for them is I'm here for them. What do they need from me to help them be successful, right? So I'm just here to help facilitate that journey. But what you know, because if they're successful, so am I, right? Like givers get. So I'm there to for whatever they need, to an extent.
That's really interesting because the being generous and contributing and giving, I think it's something that it's really interesting to see as women, that we are now stepping into like contribution and helping and supporting each other. That's really beautiful to see. And I think that it can be as simple as just being generous and coming from that place of connecting to our hearts. And so what are some of the struggles? The struggles as a woman, owning your own company and then running a team for a woman? Because I know there are some benefits, but what are some struggles that you've seen?
Well, there's a lot of haters out there, I'll tell you that. Not everybody wants to see you win. So it can be a lonely journey. You know, building a business and getting to this place wasn't, you know, it wasn't a 40-hour-a-week gig. It was, you know, 7 days a week, 10, 15 hours a day for years. You know, it wasn't just like, hey, you know, but people don't see that. They see the success and they see, you know, the other stuff, but they didn't see behind the scenes, you know, like I'm just now kind of like starting to watch TV and people are like, you haven't seen this or you haven't seen that. And I'm like, I didn't watch TV for like 5 years. So those for me, I mean, the challenges for me personally were just staying disciplined enough to do it. But what comes along with that, I mean, every action has a consequence, right? So what comes along with that kind of drive and that kind of dedication is you sacrifice other areas of your life. So, you know, some of my personal relationships were challenged. My relationships with my children were challenged. You know, people expect us to be everything to everybody. And, you know, because we're women, we're supposed to be a good wife and a good mother and a good, you know, have a career and all this stuff. And it's like, okay, but I'm only one person, you know? And I think that for me, being driven the way I am and like not everybody, it was a challenge. Like even my kids are like, what? They don't get it. And like, I think the biggest challenge was like, I almost feel guilty for being successful, even though that's my passion and that's what drives me and makes me feel good about me. I feel guilty for doing what I love, if that makes sense. That for me, that's been the biggest challenge.
Yeah, I think just in general, feeling guilty as a woman, as a mother, or as a spouse, or as a best friend. There's like ideally we care and we love and we will want to be everything to everyone. And so, but there's just impossible, especially when you are building a business and it's career driven. And I totally get it. It's like your ambition and your drive and your passion goes into your work. And sometimes that does come with sacrifices. So let's say like if there's someone here listening, and maybe they've been thinking about going to real estate. And after the pandemic, I think many of us were like had some time for self-reflection, and either we've made changes to our location of where we're living, or possibly like got laid off and now they are wanting to be able to go into real estate. What would be like 3 pieces of advice that you would give her?
About real estate? about getting into real estate specifically. Three pieces of advice. Let's see. Well, I think the first one would be to like really know yourself and what kind of person you are, and be very honest with yourself about whether or not you can be accountable to this thing. Like, it is not for the weak of heart. It is, people don't see all the stuff that it takes. And it is not this whole like, oh, so many people have thought, oh, I want to just get into real estate. It seems so great. I'll have flexible hours. And yeah, okay, you can choose which freaking 16 hours a day you'd like to work. I mean, that's the flexibility you get. You get to choose which 16 hours, but not all the time. I mean, I have clients call me at 10 o'clock at night, 11 o'clock at night, stuff like that, right? So, and every day during dinner, of course, as soon as you sit down. But you know, was we really like do a self inventory of, are you somebody who is going to be able to motivate yourself to do this? Because like, are you hungry enough? Because if you're not, then I don't suggest you get into this business.
To know thyself. That's a very great piece of advice.
Yeah, because I've seen so many people get into it and then they just waste their time because they realize down the road, like, this isn't for me. I don't like talking to people, or I don't like, they hate it. So, and they're not making money right away, and they get discouraged. So that would be my first piece of advice. My second piece of advice would be, if you have to have a mentor, you have to have somebody taking you down this path. You will, getting your license, the barrier to entry is low. Okay. You need like 9 units. It costs maybe $3,000 to start a business. And so a lot of people get into it because the barrier to entry is low, but most agents within the first year fail. So, I would say get a mentor, get on a team. Some people, they're like, oh, well, I don't want that because I don't want to split my money with anybody. Well, I'm here to tell you 100% of zero is zero. So if you don't have somebody helping you along the way, you're not gonna be very successful. Like, you're gonna do a disservice to your clients, because we take the real estate exam and it has a bunch of stuff on it and all that, but I never use that, guys. I mean, they don't teach you about the contracts. They don't teach you about all this other stuff, or loans. There's so many things, there's so many pieces of knowledge to learn that you really do need a mentor, or joining a team, unless you're just some like crazy person like myself who's just like, And let's see, the third piece of advice I would have is, if you're just getting into real estate, just be patient and consistent and stick with it. Consistency is everything in everything we do, right? So, and I've told my team, this is something I tell my team all the time. I'm like, look, your job is to go out there and talk to people. I don't care if that means that to consistently talk to people. So I don't care if that means that you stand in front of Ralph's every Tuesday between 2 and 4 in a tutu screaming, I sell real estate. If you do that every Tuesday between 2 and 4 consistently, I guarantee you sooner or later, you're going to have a client. So it's just like, that consistency is key. It's super key. And like, consistency I got up this morning at 6 and I didn't sleep in because I'm my own boss now. Like that kind of consistency, that like I showed up every day and did something. And as long as you're doing something, you'll be all right.
Wow. Thank you so much. Because this can also be applied to any other field, right? Anything else. And I think that that's something you can keep in mind, right? Like, it's the human, as human beings, these are the things that will help us be able to develop habits and way of thinking. And so that's really key. Patience. Patience is something I'm working on.
Yeah, I've been working on it for a very long time. Baby steps.
Especially when you are goal driven and you like results, and you're putting in the work. But
that's our tagline: results that move you.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah. Results that move you. Love that. But it's consistent taking action and moving
Mhm.
in the direction that fulfills you. Because ultimately, that's what it's about. Right? Doing the work we love and that we're passionate about, so we can be fulfilled in areas in our lives. And I do want to ask you a question. So, for you, what does it mean to own your power, your personal power?
Personal power. Um, I think the biggest part of it is to realize you have it. Um, and that you have a lot of it. And I think sometimes as women, we can be, like we're told all the time, just through everything that's around us, that, all the messages we're getting is that we shouldn't be powerful, and that we are, all this different stuff, right? And so we've been conditioned to think that we don't have it. And I'm here to tell you that's not the truth. That's not the truth. That's a lie. They've been lying to us. And but I think the biggest part is like realizing you have it and then not being afraid to use it, and like just testing it out. Like I think owning your power is just, I think it's like it's kind of similar to self-love. Like you have to love yourself and know that you can do whatever you want to do, guys. Like you can do whatever you want. Like anything you want to do, you can do it. Period. Like, but you have to do the work. So I think part of owning your power is also owning what else that means, right? Like that there's other stuff that goes with that. That if you're gonna own your power, then own it. Go do it. But no, I think that's what it means to me. Answer the question.
Yeah, that's perfectly said. And I think that we've been lied to. It's
Mhm.
just sales, right? Like you're not good enough, or you're not beautiful enough, and so buy this, do this to be enough. And so I think that we really just take some time to know ourselves, take some time for ourselves, that we can own all of who we are and step into your power. And I think that your story and what you've shared is a great reflection of what that means, to not give up, even when it seems like things are not possible. Things opened up for you, but the difference is that you took action and you did it.
Yeah, it was exhausting. But how much can change in 5 years? I mean, I was making good money as a CFO, but like, in real estate, your income is only capped by how hard you want to work. So, I was making good money doing that, but like, when I got into real estate in the first year, in the 6 months, I made more than I did that previous job. And then the next year, I mean, it was like double. And then I was going, wow, I've never seen this much money in my life. Like I never would have thought like I could be doing, this well. And I just thank God that I did those things that I did, because, um, you know, I love what I do. And I'm happy.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for now sharing that and being generous and giving of your time today. And so you do have a free gift, an offer for the people in the audience.
Oh, yes.
So just go ahead and tell us more about that.
Well, I am offering a, one-on-one consultation. If you're thinking about getting into the business, if you're thinking of selling, if you're thinking of buying, if you're thinking of investing, if you just have questions, if you just want to make a new friend, you want to network, let's do a one-on-one consultation. Send me an email and we'll chat. I'm really, I'm all about like getting to know people and new people. And I think a lot of success is who you know. Like as you get more successful, like it does sometimes come down to who you know or who knows you. And because, so like, for example, I mean, Claudia introduced us, right? And she knows me. So I don't know. But yeah, one-on-one consultation, send me an email, Cyrene@CyreneProperties.com. That's CYRENE. So CYRENE @CyreneProperties.com. And just put in the subject line, one-on-one consult, and we'll pencil a time and we'll chat.
I love that. And the website would also be down below in our interview. So thank you so much. And just go ahead and take on the offer. I think she has a lot of experience and a lot of wisdom in her generous heart to be able to support you. So thank you so much for being here today. You do want to stay tuned because we have remainder people and just awesome empowering women and men who are just sharing with you their insights and their wisdom so that you can own your power and create anything that you set your mind to. All right. Thank you. Thank you.